Hello, everyone, and welcome to my mysterious Sunday night broadcast where I am blue. So, usually we don't broadcast on Sunday nights, but Brian has been broadcasting on Saturdays and Sundays, so I've been kind of holding down the fort because I don't know where Brian is, so I figure he is probably doing his normal thing. However, the system here is set up such that all of us go to bed at 10 o'clock, and so the lights in here turn blue to indicate that we're supposed to be going to bed and not, you know, doing work. That said, I kind of want to get back in line with my comic. So I spent last week kind of taking a little break. And during the break, I went ahead and did some work on my character, designed my character for my D&D thing. But now that the break is over, I kind of feel like it's time for George and I to get to cracking. Right, George? You agree, right? Meh. 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 Okay. He's not going to meow at me. Sometimes he meows at me. Sometimes he just doesn't. And today he just doesn't. Well, let's give ourselves some, I don't know. I liked ambient. That was good. Okay. Off we go to work. Here we are. Okay. Brian's joining me. Look at Brian joining me. Brian's joining me, but I think he's quiet.
Hi.
Now Brian's not so quiet anymore.
How are you?
Well, all I gotta say is I'm blue. Ah do dee do do da 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 dee da 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 dee da do da. So normally on Sunday nights I'm not on show, so the lights in here turn blue at 10 o'clock to tell everybody to go to bed, so that we don't continue operating in here, and so that I don't accidentally stay up until 4 in the morning drawing. I have a lot of things which are visual cues designed specifically to alert me that I'm not supposed to do stuff. So I have turned. But I don't know if I'm staying here for all 2 hours of tonight's show, or if I'm only staying here for a little bit, or I don't know. Haven't decided yet. We'll get there. We'll see. So
We'll figure it out.
we'll figure it out. But I'm gonna leave the lights blue because it's funny. So I'll do when Brian attacks, and then we'll swap, so that we can do that because that works really well. And George was here for a minute, but now George has decided something else is much more interesting. I hooked up my AC unit, so now I have this R2D2 sitting in the middle of my office here with a pipe that goes out the window for venting hot air. And earlier today, I realized it also has a dehumidifier. So it was dripping water onto the floor. So now it has a little tube that also goes out to vent the water that's building up in there. So that's kind of funny.
Well, there you go.
I am duly entertained by this whole thing. So, how are you doing this beautiful, stupidly hot evening?
I'm here.
You're here. Yeah, that's always a plus.
I did not make it on last night. I was
Not here.
busy having other issues.
Sometimes you have complete volumes.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And sometimes you just have omnibuses.
Yep. Unless you're in Britain, at which time they're omnibibitus. I can't even say it.
And that joke went right down the toilet.
It did. I mean, like, legitimately, did anybody expect any less?
So I saw you finished up your picture of your tiefling.
Yeah, I
He
did.
looked really, really nice.
Did you see what one of my buddies posted on there? He was like,
No.
"Your style is very reminiscent of Wallop," and I was like, "That's like the best comment you could ever give me." It's like, that was so cool. Because of course that's what I model after. I'm actually a patron of Wallop, because if you're a patron, they post the entire 10-hour video up on their Patreon feed. So you end up with the entire, literally, you could watch step by step of how they do all their paintings. And so
Well,
I was
that's
like,
cool.
that's so nice, man. I was like so happy. So comparing me to Wallop was just incredible. So that was all. So anyway. So yeah, I figured I would come back in here and get back on the horse when it comes to working on comics. Although in this case, I'm not off the horse. I just took a break because it's hard teaching those classes. Although I think it should be, knock on wood, easier this week. And the reason it'll be easier is A, I'm at my home location, which is just down the street. B, it's not my first week back now. This is my second week. So I'm now pretty good with what's going on. And C, I have better coffee. So there's that.
Yes, the much improved coffee.
It's critical, man. So we've been watching Star Trek with my mother-in-law, who is also a Trekkie to some degree, which is cool. So we've been going through various episodes of Strange New Worlds because that is definitely a very accessible episode, or a very accessible series. But it was funny. We watched Ready Room, which is an extension that's on Paramount Plus. That if you watch the episodes, there's an episode of Ready Room all the time, which is hosted by Will Wheaton. And usually, he will come on and interview people from this episode or whatever, and he talks about the episode, and they usually have little featurettes. Like this particular episode of the Ready Room had a featurette on the props of Strange New Worlds, and they talked about the actual phasers. And oh my god, I need one of those so bad, but they cost $8,000 because they're made of milled aluminum and they are so pretty. And I'm like, how the world has changed from Star Trek, the original series, which were made of wood because that's all they could get. I was like, wood. And I was like, oh. But yeah. And my mother-in-law was so lost on some of this stuff that they were talking about because they had Alex Kurtzman on, who is the showrunner. He is the everything runner. He's in charge of Star Trek right now. So
Okay.
he is the guy. So, of course, Will Wheaton has a ton of very deep questions, not only about Star Trek, but about, not about Strange New Worlds, but also about Star Trek
in general, yeah.
Right. So he's asking about, like, spanning Picard and Discovery and Prodigy and Lower Decks. And my stepmom, of course, she hasn't seen all of these, so she's lost. And she's like, how do people do all of this? And I'm like, I don't know, but I hate to tell you that I can identify most of the episodes of all 840 episodes of Star Trek. And I felt like such a geek by saying that. I mean, just knowing that there's 840 episodes of Star Trek in and of itself is seriously geeky. And I don't know what to think about that necessarily, except that I am who I am, and that's the way it's going to be, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I can see it being somewhat intimidating to those who are not like me. What's so funny is Will Wheaton keeps talking about, I know that there are only a handful of Trekkies that know as much as I do, all four of you guys. And I'm like, have you been on the forums? Because we argue this stuff all the time in details.
I think that's his point.
Yep. Well, there's not four of us is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, no. That was his joke.
Yeah, you're right. That was what he was saying. He's like, all four of you, which really isn't four of you. I see what you're saying.
That's the joke.
You're right. If you have to explain the joke, it's not funny. Yeah. So, anyway. But yeah, he going into detail about stuff. A lot of things in there that was in tonight's Ready Room. That was the longest interview I've ever seen. Ready Room usually runs about 30 minutes, give or take, 40 on the outside. This was an hour long because they just didn't want to cut anything that Alex said out. Everything Alex said was critical. So that was cool, but it was a long interview. Cool, but long. And I don't know if that was something that my mother-in-law expected, but she was into it. She dug it. So no problems there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And I watched, finally, the first episode of For All Mankind tonight of the third season, and that was insane. But I know what they're going to be doing this season, which is a plus. I mean, we knew it last season when they cleared. They're going to Mars.
Spoilers?
Well, yeah, but really, if you're interested in the show, it's not a spoiler. What I didn't know was, were they already going to be on Mars, or were they going to be moving towards Mars? And that was the season's obviously going to be them heading to Mars. So that's good. So we haven't gotten to Mars. I was kind of worried we'd start with Mars, and then it'd be like, well, okay, but where are you going to go from there, right? So. However, watching that and Strange New Worlds made me really want to get back in here and get back to work on Bellatrix, because there's definitely stuff going on here. So, because of course that's what this is my little Star Trek / For All Mankind.
Okay. I'm gonna have to redraw this panel, but I absolutely love it.
Right.
So this is the first time we actually get to see Mammy fire a shot. And like, so the bottom panel of this is Brig, and I have her big eye with, like she's being hit with G-force things, where the guys that are going through like the centrifugal force
Right.
feel how you,
Yeah,
and that's what you're seeing on her, is you're just seeing the impact waves. And ultimately, like, Mammy only goes through like 4 of these, and she's told, "I'm so weak because I'm supposed to go through 10." It's like, you're not weak. You lack punch, but you're not weak.
Right. Kiddo is downstairs pontificating. I can hear him. He's going through this long litany of something? I don't know. He's on to something, though. But I can hear him like he's laying it all out for Mom down there, which is funny. He's been doing good.
Well,
He's been working hard to get on top of his ADD, which is great, because that's a big push for me. Get him on top of that ADD. He controls it, not it controlling him. Man, he has a lot to say. I absolutely love that child. But he is definitely my child. There's no question about that. I see we lost you somewhere along the line.
Yeah, right into the void.
Yep. Don't stare into the void. It will stare back at you. You know how that goes.
I don't know what you're talking about, guy. I'm perfectly fine.
The void has never stared back at you. Okay. You're going to swap me, though, whenever you add you. It's good to see you, Brent. It's all right. I may or may not stay here for long. I have no idea.
Yeah, we'll get this figured out.
You're breathing into your mic.
No, I'm not. I have a little fan here that's blowing cold air. That's blowing cold air onto me because it's hot in this.
Everywhere?
Yeah.
It's hot in this, gestures at everything.
It's hot in my everywhere.
Yeah. At least for Brent's benefit, I am most definitely over here drawing. So there's that.
Oh, so I found my spirit animal today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So I need you. Is there a way we can put a picture up on screen?
Yeah, you're sharing the screen. All you need is just stick it in front of that screen.
Yeah,
load a picture, throw it in front of the screen.
Yep. Give me a moment. The picture, you need to see the picture to understand the text, because the picture just makes it. Okay, there's the picture. Okay. Meet Sugar. She doesn't like to be ridden. If Sugar is approached with a saddle, she lies down and pretends to be asleep. Sugar refuses to open her eyes until the riders leave.
Yep.
That is my spirit animal right there.
Yep, I can see that.
I think we all have a little bit of sugar in us all.
Not the truth. I've always said, though, man, if ever there was a spirit animal for me, it's Stitch.
Did you see the little animation I sent you earlier today with the birds?
No, because I have to be judicious as to what I look at with my mother-in-law around.
So, oh no, this she would have laughed at this one.
Well, okay, but be cognizant of that when you send stuff. I'm sometimes not looking because I don't want to play something and then have my mother-in-law wonder whether I'm an alien or something. So keep that in mind. Just say this is safe for mother-in-law when you send stuff.
Yeah. So it's introvert versus extrovert, and it's two birds. And the guy animated the two birds in a little cartoony style. And you look at it, it's the two of us.
Right? That is probably more true than anything. I am so an extrovert. I don't even know how in the world other people live being introverted. It just doesn't make any sense. It is a universe that I do not comprehend. I respect. I will help you out in any way I can, but boy, it is alien to me. I agree.
See if I can bring that.
We still have sugar up there, man. Just saying.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I'm teasing
Hang
you.
on.
I'm
Okay, there you go.
Yep. It's not a lie.
That is not a lie.
Yep. I Well, and that's the thing, like, right? Tomorrow I'm doing something that would just petrify you, but I'm all about it. I'm in. I'm going to go stand up in front of 16 kids and talk about driving cars, you know? Most of my introvert friends are like, "Oh god, I'd never do that." And I'm like, "What? I had nothing. I'm good." Even my wife, who's a teacher, like my partner, sorry, Joan, my partner. We're trying to remember to use the term partner. And I'm only apologizing to Joan because she's reminding me. That's all. But yeah. My beloved partner in crime. All right.
I hope you didn't invest in crypto.
Nah. Never got around to it. Is it all tanking?
It's tanking so bad that the crypto firm Celsius
Mm-hmm.
is pausing all withdrawals, swap, transfers, and anything to do with crypto.
That's going to cause a
It's
run.
such. Yep.
I mean, I hate to say this, but I've seen that before. Do you know where I saw that? In 1929.
Yeah.
As soon as the bank
Everything is
seized
crashing.
everything. Yeah, as soon as the bank seized, there was a run. No, I didn't invest in crypto. I was gonna, but then I didn't, which is good. Turns out that's okay. The problem is, I kind of like the idea of crypto on a top level sort of issue. Um, from a top down perspective, I kind of dig the idea of it. A currency that lives outside of national currencies.
Yeah.
Okay, this was premature. I turned off my AC unit, and I was like, well, that was a mistake. Because it's just hot in here. And I'm like, I want the AC unit back.
It's time to come back on. AC, you're my only friend. You're the only one who knows how I feel.
Right. You're the only one who truly understands me. And in comes George to inspect the changes. You're my inspector, you know that, right? You're my inspector.
Hi, George.
Hi, I'm Blue.
He's a blue man in a blue world.
You are. With big yellow eyes, even when all the blue is on. How did you manage to pull that one off, you goofball? You're such a goofy cat. You're a good goofy cat, but you're a goofy cat.
So I'm bouncing between drawing my comic and just working on characters like DC and all that. Because I'm thinking about my next comic or my next comic series. And that one is going to require me to have a totally different style up and running.
That sounds painful.
But I kind of want to do it because I want it to feel different. I might actually. I'm working. So, do you know the Hive Network?
No, not really. What
Okay,
happened?
Hive is it's a web comic hosting network.
Oh, that's cool.
They host a lot of big name web comics. Um, name a few. Hang on. God, does okay. So Barbarous, which is Johnny Walker, is on there. El Sheev, Dumbing of the Ages, Go Get a Roomie, Girl Genius. I mean, really big heavy hitter comics are on Hive.
I get it. I'm just
So
sitting down.
Hive announced its Summer Art Challenge.
Okay.
And the 31st, create a 4-page comic. So you have this entire summer to do 4 pages.
Sounds really
And it said
easy.
it can be a scene you, huh?
Sounds relatively easy.
Yeah. It said the comic can be a scene you've always dreamed of drawing, a short story, an autobiographical piece, or even a 4-page promotion of your current webcomic. The only limit is your imagination and the amount of pages.
Okay.
So I'm going to do a test comic, and I've started to write it for Sins.
Okay.
And so I'm pressing this new style to apply to working on Sins. And I think it could be kind of a fun comic.
Okay. I like this. I like this idea.
You know, and just kind of, press that Marvel and DC American look a little more and see what I can come up with.
Right. Sounds like fun. I would. Well, I don't want to promise I'd join you. I have a lot of things on my to-do list.
You don't have to.
I didn't think you were asking me to. I am lying on the floor, letting my back pop.
Is that what's happening?
Yeah. It is not as comfortable as it used to be, but I don't want to risk. Like I said, I've discovered I am the standing in front of the class and pacing back and forth kind of teacher. So, it means I will be standing for the next 4 days, nonstop. So I very much wish to pop my back and make sure that it's not weird. Ah, I got your paw. Now you're going to go around looking for the man who captured your paw. Ooh, that was it. George is on the chair because I'm on the floor, and so George is on the chair right next to me, trying to attack my fingers. It's very funny. And he's such a goofy cat. You're a weirdo, you know that, right? You're just a weirdo. You're a weird cat. You're a weird cat. Switch. So I actually love it. Good cat. So I learned a couple of days.
You learned?
I learned a couple of days back that if I lay on the floor with my feet, with my legs up on my little stool, and then I put my right leg down on the floor, something in my back goes clunk, and everything feels so much better. It's kind of alarming. It's a little alarming.
I mean,
but if
it helps.
Yeah. Over time, something in my lower spine has to go clunk. And it works. And everything's better. So the other thing that makes my life better are these bare back and body pills, which is designed to go straight to the source of back pain and get rid of it. And it just takes one.
Yeah, I've been having to take some of those lately.
Yeah.
And it has me a little worried about something, but I don't think it's that. I'm hoping.
Nothing that involves your previous hospitalizations.
Correct.
I'm with you. I'm all about that. Oh, you rolled on your back, which means I can tickle your tummy. That's what that means. You just didn't know it. Anyway, he's like, I want you to play with me. I want you to play with me. I want to play with you. Yay, what a cat. Nope, you can't play with him. You have to wait for him to pass this line first. Mm-hmm. He must be this tall before you play with him. Last two. All right. I'm going to prep for bed here. In a few minutes, I'll say goodnight to you and see you tomorrow night.
Okie dokie.
Not very much longer. I mean, I really just wanted to check in with my comic one more time, kind of get an idea of where we are.
So do you want to do a day in early check-in for this week? Or do you want to wait for tomorrow to see who shows up?
Oh, I think it's just going to be you and me, my friend. So, for this week, I'm going to start plugging. Looks like right off the bat, I have one page that could be easily done by inking. One page that I could finish right away. So that's two. Looks like a few of these I could do right away. I might just go on ahead and roll them up while we can.
So I'm looking at trying to get 5 pages done this week.
Fair.
And we'll see. So at the bare minimum, I want to get at least 5 pages done for staying ahead of where I'm at when I do an update onto Global Comics.
Right.
So that I'm always keeping kind of ahead of where I am.
Mm-hmm.
After that, once I get my 5 pages done, then I'm gonna work more heavily on Zin's pages, just to kind of give myself a mental break from Armageddon Divinity.
Okay, that's good.
So I'm trying not to burn myself out.
Right. That's why I took a break. But did you see some of the stuff I did with watercolor?
I saw you made the trans flag out of watercolor.
I totally did. It was absolutely intentional, but it works.
Intentional or unintentional?
Unintentional. So. Hmm? So probably not the most appropriate thing to say on camera, but yeah. Where are yours? Do you have them downstairs?
Well, yes, but Mom wants to save them because she screwed up my health insurance.
Okay. So. So, did you come in here to play with the cat like I just told you you could not do?
No, he was just there.
Yeah. Because apparently as long as they are here, they're going to be here on the show, whether I tell them no, it's bad for them or not. And until something horrible happens, they will continue to think that nothing bad will happen. So there's that.
Yeah, I saw that, and it's like, that's a beautiful set of watercolors you have there. Are you doing something for the for Pride Month with that?
Right?
Is how I took it.
I'm kind of glad you said that because actually I had not thought about that, but I'm okay with it. Totally cool with it. What had happened was I was using cerulean blue, and we were sitting at a coffee shop, and I was like, we don't have water, so I didn't want to mess with the water, or I didn't want to change colors in my painting. So I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll just practice values. So I'd already set up some blue for the sky. When I did that, and then I was like, hey, this is kind of fun. I'm doing this all with one color. And I was like, I know what I want to do now. I want to use the pinkest pink because we all got that pinkest pink.
And we never use it.
So I was like, I want to make the pinkest pink. I didn't realize it was a trans flag, but that works. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, if you look at it, so the trans flag is blue, pink, white, pink, blue.
Oh, okay, so it's the top half of the trans flag.
Yeah. Well, sort of. I actually kind of like the way you do it a little bit better, because what it's supposed to be is it's supposed to be the transfer one way or the other, depending on how you read it.
Right.
Well, I kind of like the fact that it's just the two colors with the white in between, because it kind of had that nice separation.
You can go either direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't intentional, but I'll take it. We can pretend that I meant to do that.
Yeah, there you go. Particularly with all the hate that's coming up this ride.
Certainly isn't going to hurt to show support, since we all know that I do back that. So
yeah. And there's been an awful lot of hate this year towards it.
Yeah, but I did just post that video also. I don't know if you saw the video I posted, the Now This video, but it was a professor who was talking about how there's a cognitive process that we go through when we see negative stuff. We only see the negative stuff, and it's about building neural pathways. So we reinforce the neural pathways of the negative things that we see. So he's like, sometimes it's absolutely true. For example, you're right to believe that there are more pigeons in big cities than there are outside of big cities. And so when you see the your neural pathways are being reinforced, that you see a pigeon, you see a pigeon, you see a pigeon. And in that instance, it is true. The population of pigeons are higher in cities than they are out of cities. He said, but sometimes it's not. If you ask anybody today whether America is safer or not safer than it was, say, in 1980, they will almost unilaterally say it is a much more dangerous place out there right now than it ever was. However, the statistics show that fewer people are dying, fewer people are getting killed, there's fewer violent crimes, and we are gaining population. So the combination of those two say that per capita, it's actually far, far, far safer than it was in 1980.
Yeah.
But that doesn't lead in news, so you don't see it. And what he was saying was the news cycle causes us, it reinforces those negative things. He said, but it doesn't lead to say that 128,000 people came out of poverty today around the world, which has happened. Because statistically speaking, more people are literate now, more people are out of poverty, more people have food in their bellies, more people are housed than they were even in the 80s. But that doesn't lead.
Yeah.
So because of that, it's not reinforcing those neural pathways in our heads. So we feel like the world's coming to an end when quite literally the opposite is occurring. Now, it doesn't mean don't fight the fight. And it doesn't mean don't fight the good fight, because we got the good fight to fight. We got to do that. But the good news is that the social revolution that's occurring now with trans rights and non-binary and things like that is actually a much calmer one than the one that happened for Black people, as an example.
Yeah.
It's actually safer for non-binary than it was for Black people. That doesn't mean it's safe. That doesn't mean it's good. But it does mean that it's better. At least our social revolutions are getting calmer.
Yeah.
So we still have to go through them. We still have to do them. But the cycles are getting better. And that's something to just remind ourselves of every so often. So that, because of course what's going on is we're all freaking out.
Yeah.
We're all like,
one way or another,
the world's coming to an end, and it's really not, So that was an interesting video, and it's something I've been kind of saying, which is I no longer believe news stories necessarily. I mean, I absorb them, I listen to them, but I also make the presumption that they are intentionally twisted to make us afraid. And so I take the information and try to eject all of the, oh God, we've got to do something or else part of it,
Yeah.
What he said in this particular video was, how do you stop it? You look at the numbers, because the numbers won't lie. How many people were murdered last year in America versus how many people were murdered in 1980? If you're interested in how many wars are going on, there are fewer wars today than there were in 1980. If you look at the number of people who are hungry, there are fewer people who are going hungry today. You know what I mean? Like, that's the best way of looking at where we are as a civilization, as a species.
Did I show you the chart that someone had posted regarding right versus left-handedness?
Yeah. Well, no, but I've seen it.
So there was a big article that came out about, oh, there's more transgenders coming
Right.
out than there
Exactly.
ever have been, which is a true statement.
It is
And
true.
it said, but I want to remind people this chart, and it was a chart about left-handedness as punishment dropped against people who were naturally left-handed.
Right.
And you see the same spike of left-handedness
We
happen.
went from 1 in 1,000 people being left-handed to 5% of the people being left-handed to 10% of the people being left-handed, which is where
Correct.
I think it settled in. Was about 10% of us are left-handed.
Yes.
And that's you're absolutely right. That's this, and so we've gone from 0.0001% of us are transgender to 1% of us are transgender to 5% of us are transgender, and it's climbing. And probably what it'll do is it'll settle out at about 10%, because that seems to be what happens when you're in the margins. The margins seem to be about 10% ish, give or take.
Yeah. And currently for transgender it sits at 0.4% of the population,
Right.
which is freakishly low.
Right. Right. But it's the same thing with homosexuality.
Yeah.
We rolled into about 5% to ultimately about settling in between 5 and 10%, somewhere in there. Because I mean, it's functionally out of norm for human beings general. I mean, as an animal, if you look at us as an animal, all of these things are functionally against our natural animal functions. So it won't be 50%. It'll never be a 50%. You know. And I'm sure left-hand dominance, also looking at us from like base human, is also a problem, because all weapons would have been right-hand dominant. So would not have developed as well. We may have been more ambidextrous in the very beginning, but as weapons were being developed, all of them were right-handed, and the techniques were right-handed. And so much of our culture probably devoted out to about that, to where you ended up with 10% being the people who couldn't use weapons, technically speaking.
Yeah.
I have to be very careful about how I word that, because I don't want to say that homosexuality is a dysfunction.
No.
Of course,
because it's not. But
it's not.
you're gonna get you're always gonna get the weirdos like, yeah, see, that's what I've been saying this entire time. And it's
Right.
like, no.
And of course, the truth of the matter is, at this point in time, we're growing like weeds. So we're populating the planet at a phenomenal rate. So it's okay if some of us cannot have children or are not interested in having children. It's actually better for us.
And that's probably a functionally biological safety measure.
It may be. I actually have theorized that. I've theorized that homosexuality comes around to safety valve us a little.
Mm-hmm.
So that we are not producing as many children, but producing more caregivers. So you have more caregivers for one child instead of more children per caregiver. So it shifts. So it may actually be a particularly operable function of our society. This may be a normal function of our society that does this by operation. That's why it's like one of those things where I think when I say 10% are usually the people who are marginal on being able to operate, I have to be very careful on that one, because I actually believe that some of that's not accidental. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
And
Certainly,
you know, and
that is the way that I'm perceiving it in Bellatrix Rising. Those people who are born homosexual, their jobs generally in the family group are to be extra caregivers to help assist in the raising of the children, because children are difficult. They're hard to raise. Any parent will tell you that. So they just get put in.
no,
Yeah,
I don't see what you're talking about, Guy.
I know, right? As I just had a discussion with my child who wasn't listening to instructions. So, but yeah, that's the way I think that it should be. Certainly, the people in our group who are homosexual, that's the functions they've been fulfilling. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they've been doing, is becoming extra caregivers. If you think about even Pepper and Bill, that's exactly what they're doing. They're taking on an extra child that can't be with a different family. And there are a lot of those. So that works. Totally works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It does function if you get all of the crankiness out of it. It functions really nicely. It's slick. It runs really well. The system runs fine. So anyway, something to think about. I am actually going to go to bed, because that way tomorrow morning I can be rested and nice and happy when I head off to not the far distant part of the city, but rather now I can leave at like 8:30 tomorrow morning and still get to my classroom on time. Which
Well,
is
shall we call it here?
amazing. Amazeballs. Yeah,
So
I don't
let's
mean
call
for
it
you.
here then.
I don't mean for you to drop out. You don't have to.
Nah, I'm good. I've gotten my stuff done for today, so I'm actually kind of good right now.
Awesome, awesome. Then I will see you tomorrow night, my friend.
All right, see you tomorrow night.
Bye-bye.